Hello and welcome into the midweek edition of the Locked On Packers Squad Show. I am your host this evening, Brandon Sneide. The Packers crushing the Lions in week 1. Now, can they command a win over Washington in week 2?
And I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers. We're going to find out Thursday night if this Packers defense is finally built to stop a mobile quarterback.
Yeah, this is Coach Jags. The show goes on tomorrow night in Lambeau.
Go Pack Go! It's the Packers Squad. Everything Green Bay Packers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Titletown. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the frozen tundra with all the cheeseheads, the Packers Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Locked On Packers Squad Show Week 2 edition alongside Peter Bukowski and Coach Jags. My name is Brandon Sneide. Lots to get to on the program this evening. This episode tonight is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets right now. Guys, after a dominating week 1 victory, the Packers over the Lions, they now set their sights on a team who was just in the NFC Championship game, 7 or 8 months ago. Coach, I'll begin with you. It's a short week. The Packers play on Sunday. They're now getting ready to play in 24 hours, literally from right now. A big task. Talk to me through the preparations for our Packers as they get ready for the Washington Commanders at Lambeau Field on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, that's great. Here's the deal. On Monday, they had to give them a day off, right? And this game is played just like if it was a Thanksgiving Day game on Thursday, right? So, but here's the thing, that everything is equal because both teams have the same amount of time to prepare. So there's no advantage on that. On Tuesday, they probably had a decent practice. And then on Wednesday, guys, they're going to have a walkthrough. And what I mean by walkthrough is like you're going to line up and the play will be called. And literally they will walk through all the calls and the routes, and the quarterback will point out to who he's throwing it to. And that's what you're going to do. You just you can't be hitting guys, right? With just that much preparation time. So like I said, they're going to have a lot of walkthroughs, but walkthroughs are nothing different because they have walkthroughs every single day in between meetings, and then you'll have a walkthrough and then a practice. So they're practicing what they're going to practice. The only thing different is they only got like one walkthrough, and that's going to be on Wednesday. Here's the advantage that Green Bay has. They don't have to travel.
Yeah.
And guys, just think of it. So like if you're in Washington, they're practicing, then they got to get on a bus, get to the airport, fly to Green Bay, get to their hotel, and then set up their meetings and all that. And it's a total different thing with a short week. With Green Bay, they're going to be sleeping in their beds, right? I'm just telling you guys, you don't think that's a big damn deal, right? Where you don't have to travel on a short week like the Commanders have to. Big time advantage for the Packers.
The fact that this is in week 2, Jags, like how much work can be done ahead of time? Like Dan Quinn mentioned that they had a little bit of built-in work to say, hey, we know we have this short week. You know, you get some QCs, you get some guys working on maybe a little film study, some charting, something to get you ready so that you have this condensed time frame.
Right.
How much can you do in advance that like maybe that week after final cuts before that first week of the season?
You know, Peter, that was I tell you, if he did say we've got little of this and a little of that, it's exactly right. They don't have a lot.
Right.
And here's the thing, like when you're going into like a Thanksgiving Day game, which this really is as far as time-wise, you're going to run your base offense. Now you're going to have some wrinkles in that. They already knew like, hey, we've got a short week coming off the first week, but your offense is really going to be your base stuff with extra maybe motions or different formations to get to that same spot on the field. But guys, there's just not enough time, right? They only had one practice and a walkthrough. That's it. That's all they had.
Peter, when you look at the Commanders, they had a week 1 victory over the New York Football Giants. I believe it got to 21-6 as the final for a big chunk of that fourth quarter. It was a 1-score game. Yeah. When you looked at the Washington Commanders this week, what kind of stuck out to you? What are the things you'll be looking forward to in Thursday night's game?
Well, the big thing I wanted to see was how are they going to protect Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. Now they had some injuries, the Giants did. But this is a defense last year that gave the Commanders problems with that front, because this offensive line, even with the additions that they made, they bring in Laramie Tunsil via trade. They use a first-round pick on Josh Connerly. He's their starting right tackle. They moved Brandon Coleman into guard. And there were some moments when Brandon Coleman, he's got big-time power. He's one of those 320, 330 kind of guys. And so he can move bodies. The question is going to be in the pass protection game, because Jeff Hafley confirmed we're going to see more of Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons played 40-ish% of snaps in week 1. Well, if he's 60% of snaps, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And especially if you're lining him up, he had a 21% win rate against Penei Sewell, at worst, the second best right tackle in the NFL. Just worked him consistently. Like a good right tackle at the end of the year is going to have a win rate 97, 98%. Like they just don't lose that many times. David Bakhtiari always says, like, I have to win 40 times in pass pro. You only have to win once.
This is true.
And that's true, right? But Penei Sewell, like 21% for Micah Parsons, that's big time. And now it's a rookie, Josh Connerly, who had some ups and downs. I think that's the equalizer. Jags talked about the base stuff. Okay, maybe a little bit more just rush 4 this week. Well, when you got Micah Parsons on a rookie, maybe all you got to do is rush 4, and you can create some opportunities here.
Now, go ahead, Coach.
No, do you remember, guys, when you were like, I know this is really like elementary, but remember when you were in elementary school, you always had really the best guy in the playground? Hey, let's put him up against the worst.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing, guys. It's like, how can we get Parsons against a lesser guy? And that's right there. There's your formula, Peter.
Now, you guys have both talked about, Peter, you and Coach Jags, both have talked about protecting the quarterback and what that means for the Packers defense going up against the Washington Commanders defense. Kind of want to flip this real quick. Jordan Love at his locker during practice this week. Now, head coach Matt LaFleur said both Zach Tom and Aaron Banks are going to be game time decisions, and what that means for this team going forward. Now, on the other side, it's protecting Jordan Love. I do want to take a look into the locker room with quarterback Jordan Love. He spoke on that after practice and what that means for the team leading up to a tough opponent on a short week.
It's one of those things where obviously we, depend on what happens going into Thursday. We might have some guys out there who haven't been out there. So it's one of those things where you just got to adjust on the fly. We got to give those guys as many reps in these walkthroughs and things like that, just hearing the calls, knowing the calls. But these guys are all pros. I got confidence in them that they'll be able to go out there and do their job and execute at a high level. And it's just a matter of getting your mind mentally ready for whatever might happen.
Coach, when you hear quarterback Jordan Love say, we may not have some guys up until that moment, head coach Matt LaFleur saying they're going to give them up to the game time decision. What does that do for a coach? Put me into the locker room, put me into the coaches' meeting and the offensive planning on what that means. Like, we may have our high-paid right tackle. We may not have him. We could not have our left guard. We may not have him. It may be somebody else. Talk me through the preparation on what that's like to have not one, but now two potentially big players off of that offensive line for that.
Right. I mean, that's a big challenge, but that's the way it is. Like every week, we talked about last week about like who's up on the 46, like how many guys do you have up? There's going to be at least 8 guys up because they have to make sure that they are covered at both the guard, center, and guard tackle spots. That they just have to. But those guys they're all pros and they're all getting paid, right? And are they as good as the first guys? Well, that's the reason why they're 2s, right? They're not. So, but the more that they're going to get involved and the more repetitions they get, the better they're going to be, guys. And the thing is, the offensive line position, I don't care what level you're on, that's the position you can bring a guy farther along talent-wise and developmentally wise is in the O-line position. It's always been that way. So I still feel good. I think the O-line coach does a great job with these guys as he did last week.
Well,
Peter,
and
go ahead.
The other part of this too, coach, is Jordan Morgan. If Aaron Banks, can't go, Jordan Morgan was like the 1.5 this week. He was rotating with Sean Ryan before all these injuries. And so he was kind of the half starter. Now, I thought Sean Ryan played really well on Sunday. I mean, there was one play where on that double-A blitz that the Lions tried a couple times on that looper, the linebacker, Sean Ryan got that linebacker and he he hit that linebacker with a snatch trap and just like to the ground. And it's that sort of power that you see. This is not a huge Washington front, but if you have Jordan Morgan, who's kind of your half starter on the right, now he's playing left guard. You're not really losing much there. And I feel like you could make the case. Maybe I would make the case. Maybe I won't be a coward on this. I'll make the case. I think Jordan Morgan is a better player. So I think Aaron Banks is there because he's the highly paid guy, and because they gave Jordan Morgan a chance to compete at left tackle. He lost that job, and now they're rotating him at right guard because he's probably going to be that guy next year. Yeah. I don't think it's a downgrade for them there. The question is going to be Darian Kennard, who they brought in. I thought moved bodies in the running game extremely well in the second half. And so is he worse than Zach Tom? Yeah, he is. But can they make it work? Given the way we saw, and we're going to get into the protection stuff later, given the way that they handled the details of that protection scheme in week 1, I have the utmost confidence they will have these guys on their P's and Q's, because it's not going to be that much different in week 2.
Remember this, though, guys, in the O-line room, there's not two different voices. That coach is coaching all of those guys. So I would always say this, guys, listen, if I'm coaching the left tackle, I'm coaching the left tackle, the guy behind him. So just pay attention, right? And you made a great point right there, Peter. It's like 1.5. Like, remember, sometimes you got to play guard. Sometimes you go guard, play tackle, and then the guard usually can play center. But you have to be able to play multiple positions in the offensive line in pro football. You just have to. There's just not enough numbers.
It's why the Packers cross-train their guys. It's why they're set up in these sorts of positions. And I was talking to Joe Thomas, not to name drop, but I was talking to Joe Thomas in the offseason about, is this the right way, do you think? Throwing all this stuff at a rookie like Anthony Belton or Jordan Morgan or Zach Tom before him, is that a way to develop these guys? And he goes, absolutely. It is the way how I would want to do it. You throw everything at them and then see sink or swim. Let's figure it out. And then we'll see what you can do and not do. But then at least we know, are you a guard? Are you a tackle? Maybe you can kind of play both. Looks like Jordan Morgan can do both. Well, that's a really valuable skill set. And you don't know that they can do that unless you cross-train. You remember a couple of years ago, guys, the Packers played on I think it was a Thursday night game. This was 2018, if my memory serves, against the Bears. They're in their whiteouts. They're going to be in their whiteouts on Thursday night.
Devontae with the concussion.
They started 5 offensive linemen. All of them were guards. All of them. They moved Lane Taylor to tackle. They moved, I forget who else out to tackle. They had to play their backup center, who was a guard. He was playing guard, and then they started 2 guards. They started 5 guards. How many teams could do that? Only a team that cross-trains everybody.
Yeah. But, here's the thing, though, guys. Like, just think about the development of these guys. I am going, again, very elementary, but just go like to junior high school, college. The protections are the same. They are. I mean, it's like, not that those guys have never done that before. They've all done that multiple times on many different levels. But the good old lines are be able to get cross-trained, Peter, as you're saying. And they have to, because like I said, you're only going to have 8 guys up on game day. That's it. So someone's got to be double duty.
Well, if there's a position outside of quarterback that I trust this franchise to kind of figure out, it's the offensive line.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Real quick, Coach, before we get moving on here, I do have a question for you, because it's a game time decision, because it's a short week. Is it 2 different game plans when you have guys like that are that pivotal in their roles? And Zach Tom, obviously, on the right tackle, Aaron Banks on the left side of their franchise, $55 million a year quarterback, Jordan Love. Is there 2 different game plans, or are they just kind of, hey, this is the role that you signed up for. We trust you. We're going to go with this game plan no matter what, no matter who's in, who's out.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Like, when a soldier goes down, we used to say this, a soldier goes down, you pick up his gun and just keep firing. It's just the next guy up. But all those guys are getting paid. It's not like, well, no, there's no different game plan. There can't be. And especially this week, because there's just no time, Brandon, right? Just the amount of repetitions that these guys can take. No. There's nothing going to be different.
Any concerns, Peter, before we get moving on, not possibly having Zach Tom or Aaron Banks?
I'll tell you, I'd have been a lot more concerned week 1 with Aiden Hutchinson on deck. This Washington Commanders front just does not scare you the same way. Dorrance Armstrong had a nice game last week against a frankly overmatched Giants offensive line. No Andrew Thomas in that game. They just don't have the guys. this is not a Commanders front that's going to scare you. Dietrich Wise on the other side, he's a 280-pound run-stopping defensive end. He's not that, I'm going to go and MF you in a pass rush situation. And then, their situational pass rusher is, the propped up corpse of Von Miller. I mean, that's like the movie Uncle Buck. Like, this is not, anything that you really need to be scared of at this point in his NFL career. Now, of course, now that I said that, he's going to whoop Donovan Kennard or Darian Kennard a couple times and, whatever. But here's the thing. Jordan Love doesn't take sacks. This is his superpower. When he faces pressure, he gets the ball out. And last year, he had the lowest turnover-worthy play rate against pressure guys since 2018 from Aaron Rodgers. How many times, Brandon, quick trivia, how many times was Aaron Rodgers the MVP since 2018?
3.
Well, since 2018, he was twice, right?
Twice.
Since 2018.
Yes.
he won 2. He's won 3 since 11. That includes 2 MVP seasons. So Jordan Love last year was less reckless with the ball under pressure than Aaron Rodgers, the least reckless with the ball player of all time, was in 2 MVP seasons. Jordan Love under pressure, I'm just going to go down with the ship. He's going to be fine.
You'll be okay.
He'll be okay. We'll dive into more of Jordan Love and the matchup with the Washington Commanders in week 2. And speaking of quarterbacks, we're going to stay on that topic. What's it like to prepare for a quarterback like Jayden Daniels? Coach is going to walk us through that coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you are ready for kickoff with this can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game even more exciting, whether you're watching your favorite team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. If that first $5 bet hits, you get $300 in bonus bets. Once again, FanDuel.com. Week 2 is already upon us. A short week for our Green Bay Packers, our 1-0 Green Bay Packers after demolishing the Lions in week 1, 27-13. They'll welcome in Jayden Daniels, who turned a lot of heads last year, especially in the second half of last year, where he took the Washington Commanders to the NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Coach, you were in the locker room with a handful of really good players, a couple of gold jackets. You were in the group chat a couple of days ago talking about Michael Vick and being in that locker room. And the reason I ask you this is the problems that Jayden Daniels presents for an opposing defense. And the Packers defense was on display Sunday against Goofy Goff. But the thing with Goofy Goff is he's not going to leave the pocket. Jayden Daniels is certainly capable of doing that. Talk me through what it's like to prepare for a quarterback like the skill set of Jayden Daniels.
Well, I tell you, Mike Vick was just such a special guy. He was so damn fast. He was faster than anybody on the field, and he, whoever he was playing, whatever speed he needed, he could play at. I think Jayden is very, very athletic, and the thing that you have to worry about is breaking contain, right? So if you lose the edge, like on an outside rusher, right? And I know they're going to have that because they want to keep everything in front of him. Because when he starts getting out in the open or breaking contain, that is a dangerous deal because now he's got a run pass option that makes him super, super dangerous. The other thing that I saw about him is they use called quarterback runs. Okay, so here's the thing. Just think of this. If the quarterback is handing off to the back, no one's got the quarterback, right? And no one's got him, right? So this goes back to the single wing, Peter, right? Is where the quarterback is the runner. So now that when the back is now blocking for the quarterback, now they have a numbers advantage that they didn't have before, right? They were always -1 when the quarterback was handing off. But if the quarterback is running behind the back that's blocking him on the linebacker, there's nobody else left, right? So there's where your numbers come in the single wing, which we talk about every week, Peter.
I mean, I'm obsessed with the offense that they ran with Malik Willis last year in those 2 games. It just is endlessly fun to me to think about and talk about. The difference this week, Coach, is I'm sure the people listening remember 2011, and they remember 2012, and they remember 2013, and they remember Colin Kaepernick leaving Nick Perry in the dust on the edge. They remember, and I knew it was over for Charles Woodson in Green Bay when Colin Kaepernick put distance between himself and Woodson on that, like, whatever it was. It felt like a 70-yard touchdown run. It was probably a 40-yard touchdown run. Like, those teams drove the Packers nuts. When zone read came back, because I don't want to say came into vogue because zone read is like as old as football. But when teams started running that again with these mobile quarterbacks, the Packers just have not had the players to defend it. They've not had the coaches who've been able to teach it. And this is like high school stuff, but even high schools have sort of like gone away from it. They want to spread everybody out and pass and they do all the fun stuff. The Packers finally, with Micah Parsons, with Edrin Cooper, with Quay Walker, to me, they have the players now to defend it. And we see in college every week, and Jags has the OU stuff on it. We saw it in the OU game over the weekend. You have to have the front guys have to be able to defend running quarterbacks because every team is taking advantage of the quarterback's ability to run. It's why we see quarters now is the en vogue defense all around because you have to account for these guys. And so I think this Packers front is built now to do this. The question that I have is, like, Brandon, would you want the Packers to keep doing what they're doing, keep the pedal to the metal with the exotics and the pressures, or the approach that worked really well in the playoff game against Jalen Hurts was rush 4, contain him, and make him play quarterback?
Well, I think that's why you go out and get Micah Parsons, right? Because you have the ability to rush those 4. And I think he was mentioned by each one of us on this program after that win against the Lions was Lucas Van Ness was a guy that really stuck out for this team, rushing from the inside. I think if you're going to pressure, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because you both know more ball than I do, and you can bookmark that audio bite right there. But you guys both know more ball than I do. But I think the easiest way to a quarterback is up the middle, right? Is directly to him and not allowing him to get out on the edges. And that's kind of what I was going to spin back on you, Peter, is you go out and get Micah Parsons, you get him to do what you just said to do. How do you see them defending Jaden Daniels? Because that's the thing that's curious to me. Are they going to spy him? Are they going to, like you said, draw up something exotic? I mean, they have the horses, right? Quay Walker and Edrin Cooper. Off the top of my head, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know if there's a more athletic duo in the middle of a football field for a team right now than those two guys. And then you obviously
I said that on radio yesterday, Brandon.
Yeah.
I said the exact same thing. I think they have the most athletic duo of linebackers in the NFL. And Micah Parsons said it. He said, we got the horsepower. You've got to have the horsepower and you have to be able to play contain. Now, what the Packers did against Jared Goff was they said, we are going to take away all your deep stuff and we're going to have eyes to the quarterback. The Packers, I believe, did not play a snap of man coverage on Sunday. So they are not going to allow themselves to be forced to do that. They would rather pressure you and play zone behind so that they have eyes to the quarterback. The defense is set up to do this. They're set up to defend guys like Jaden Daniels because Edge Cooper, Quay Walker, if you're going to, bring down a whole player, someone like Evan Williams, those guys are designed in this defense. It's called the vision and break defense, to have vision to the quarterback. And that's what allows you to create interceptions like Evan Williams on that great play when Micah Parsons just destroys Penei Sewell. So I think they don't have to change anything. They don't have to do anything different because this defense is already designed to make sure all 7 guys on the back end have eyes to the QB.
Coach, let's put this on you here real quick because I got a fun little idea here. I want you to, this is kind of going to be like in the coach's classroom, but not officially because we do it after the games, but I want you to take us into the quarterback room, into the offensive meeting, and you are in charge right now. You are talking to Jaden Daniels. You have the Washington offense in front of you. You watched the Packers defense. You watched them rally to the football. I don't know, Peter. I don't know if I've ever seen a Packer team rally to the football
ever.
The Packers did on Sunday against the Detroit Lions. So, Coach, my thing for you is, what do you tell Jaden Daniels? What do you tell Jaden to how and why to attack this Packers defense?
Well, a lot of things too is like, how do you get the ball out fast, right? There might be a little bit more 3-step game with him, but just think of like a 3-step drop in gun is really a 1-step and get the ball out, right? And get a ball out as fast as you can. I would anticipate the Packers, they're going to have some type of spy for him. Now, the thing is, the Packers have gotten is like their inside 3 guys or the inside 2 guys got so much push last week. And the thing is, if they're getting that much push and the ends are getting up that field, I mean, there's a wall right there, for Jaden to have to negotiate through, whether it's seeing the reads or whatever. But if they're getting all that push up front, which I think they're going to this week, and then the edge have the edge contained, I think it's going to be a long day for him. That's what I would anticipate for that.
The problem, I think, for Micah Parsons is he loves to win inside. He loves to get you because every tackle in the NFL is scared of him turning the corner on them. Every single one. And so, because if Penei Sewell is scared of it, every tackle is scared of it. And so he likes to work inside. Well, coach, I mean, walk us through this. Like, what's the problem when a defensive end tries to win inside against a mobile quarterback?
Well, the thing is his athleticism shows up so much. We saw that, Brandon, you sent me that clip, right? It was like a really wide deal. And all of a sudden they create space with the width of him playing like a wide 3, almost like a 4 technique over the tackle, right? And all of a sudden you've got that guard one-on-one with the athleticism of Parsons. Yeah, good luck, right? He's not going to be able – they can't cover that much space. And we talked about it last week's show is that you can't, especially on a short week, how do you simulate the speed on which Parsons is going to rush that guy?
Right.
There's absolutely no chance, especially if they're going through a walkthrough.
Well, you can't
have the assignment.
But the point that I was trying to make, coach, is if you're going to come inside, Jaden loves to move to his right. So if you're going to try and win inside, Jaden is just going to bail right. And then you're lucky you have Micah Parsons because he might be the only true edge in the NFL that's fast enough to actually chase down Jaden Daniels. But the whole point of contain rush is you have to try and win outside shoulder or you're giving him a lane to go. And I thought the Packers did a really good job, even with all the exotics last week, of maintaining lane discipline. They didn't give Goff places to move and maneuver, and I can just step into here, or I could step through here. Goff is actually underratedly good at that stuff. But with Daniels, it's different. And they're going to have to make sure that they're on their P's and Q's with that stuff. Because that was the same thing with Vic. If you gave him a sliver of daylight, he was just going to be gone. And Daniels is not on that level athletically. I don't know that anyone has ever been other than Mike Vick. I think Lamar Jackson is like a close second. Daniels is further down the list, but it's still pretty incredible. It's a little bit different though. On the other hand, Micah Parsons has faced Jaden Daniels, faced him twice last year. And so this is a scheme, a situation that he knows how to defend this quarterback and saw Jalen Hurts, saw Jalen Hurts twice last year and saw, the Eagles played the Cowboys twice last year. And the Cowboys played the Commanders twice last year. It's not like they've never seen this.
Right. No, there's some familiarity. He's played what twice last, or how many times in the last how many years?
Well, Jaden was a rookie last year, so that's it. But then all of Hurts' career too.
Right. Here's what I think, guys. I think that the linebackers, and we've been talking about how good our linebackers are. But if he breaks contain and he comes up the middle, our linebackers have to be athletic enough to go ahead and take that, not on a 10-yard gain. Right. So if he breaks through the line of scrimmage, those linebackers got to move up and they got to go ahead and make the play.
I think for me, I look at this matchup. I'm very excited. Well, number one, because I said in the first 2 weeks, you got to go at least 1-1. So I feel a little bit more relaxed going into this game against the Washington Commanders. But I'm excited, Peter, because I get to see week 1 was a test, right? Week 1, everybody was kind of curious. What does Micah Parsons look like? What does Edge Coop look like on the defense? What's Jordan Love look like? And the Packers just balled out. And I'm excited because they passed that test. And now it's a great opportunity for them to be on the national stage, right? Everybody's going to be tuning in and watching the Packers. And they're kind of the talk of week 1, outside of that Buffalo Miracle comeback. The Packers were the best team on Sunday, really in week 1, period. But I'm excited because it's another test early for this team, Peter. How important is that for a team to get tested early in the season, like the Packers will be in 5 days?
I think for me, it's more about being able to maintain the intensity. I think it'd be really easy. You have this huge win against the Lions. Let's say these 2 weeks were flipped and you've got the Browns coming in on Sunday, or you have to go to Cleveland and then you play home for the Commanders. I'd be a little worried about a letdown against the Browns. Not that they're going to lose.
True.
But that they would play that a little bit tighter than they probably should because you have this big emotional game and then, we should just go in there and kick their ass, right? Like that's just human nature. The fact that not only are you playing another really good team, you are playing another really good team in your conference on short rest, on a short week. So there's no time to puff your chest out. There's no time to spend the week listening to all the shows and watching the Locked On Packers squad show and hear us talk about how awesome that everybody is and say, we rock, though they're welcome to, watch every Wednesday.
And they do.
And they do, just like Brian Gutekunst every week.
Absolutely.
But now they just have to, they have to lock right back in. We are right back into the mud here. And I think that is a huge benefit to the Packers.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Peter, you mentioned like Cleveland and, the letdown. Here's when you're on a really good football team with a great culture, the head coach is going to say, we always play to our standard, guys. It doesn't matter who the hell's coming in here. It doesn't.
Big on that.
Yeah. And you know what? That'll show up tomorrow night. I bet my bottom dollar that'll show up. You play, hey guys, especially what they showed like last week, and everyone's looking around going like, man, I freaking believe what these coaches are telling us, right? We play to our own standard. We don't give a shit who we're playing. It doesn't matter. And we're going to play to our own standard. I think the Packers are setting their own standard, and it's fun to watch.
Lots of good quarterback talk. We talked about Jaden Daniels. We talked about how to defend him. One quarterback who played really well and was kept clean in the pocket was Jordan Love on Sunday. We're going to have some fun coming up. We're going to dive into our group chat, give you guys an insight onto what we are talking about over the course of the last few days, which includes keeping Jordan Love protected. We'll talk about that coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. New parts for a fast project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer right there. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use their promo code SHCollege5. Once again, SHCollege5 for 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. The Green Bay Packers beating the Detroit Lions in week 1, 27-13. We talked a lot about the defense, guys. We talked a lot about Micah Parsons. We talked a lot about Edge Coop, Xavier McKinney, how to defend Jaden Daniels. We talked about Jaden Daniels and the things that he can present. Peter, the Packers did a pretty darn good job keeping Jordan Love upright. We're going to call this segment on our midweek show throughout the course of the season Into the Group Chat. It gives listeners, gives you guys at home listening, whether you're on the YouTube live channel, number one, thank you. Number two, if you're listening later on, we also thank you for that. Gives you guys an insight to what we are talking about. And believe it or not, into our group chat, guys, that's all we do is talk ball for the most part. And that includes, Peter, keeping Jordan Love healthy. How did the Green Bay Packers keep Jordan Love, keep that jersey clean on Sunday in a 27-13 win?
Telepathy, it felt like. I mean, it was. I think for the more I've watched this, guys, I think it is the most buttoned up from a detail standpoint I have ever seen the Green Bay Packers in the Matt LaFleur era. Not ever, like in life ever, but in the Matt LaFleur era, because the protection plan, when they had these guys, they passed off every game the Detroit Lions tried to run, and they tried to run a bunch of them. And I think to their detriment, like there were too many times Aiden Hutchinson is dropping into coverage. You got Aiden Hutchinson coming back from a broken leg. What are you doing trying to get cute, dropping him into coverage?
I didn't know he played.
Go hunt.
Didn't know he played.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
And
until
part
he
of
had
that
the
is
penalty.
because this front did such a great job. And Matt LaFleur called it the best performance by his running backs in pass pro since he's been in Green Bay. They were able to pick up. There's a rep where Chris Brooks has to block a 3-tech because they're trying to pick the guard and the looper comes back around and it's Chris Brooks one-on-one with a 300-pound dude and he stones the guy. mean, that's not supposed to happen. That was like Micah Parsons against the sumo wrestler. If you've seen that clip, that's kind of what it looked like.
So explain to me real quick before we get too far. Chris Brooks in the backfield next to Jordan Love, the 3-tech. For those that are keeping track at home, including myself, explain to me what the 3-tech.
So you have your nose tackles. That's your 1 or your 0 shade, I think. And then I think, Coach, we did this with a 5-tech, right? And then we explained what that was. And then the 3-tech is going to be shaded between the guard and the tackle.
And that's who Chris Brooks.
Outside shade of the guard.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he's coming. You have the linebackers standing over the center, and the linebacker goes toward the tackle, the defensive tackle, and the defensive tackle goes in toward the linebacker. They twist, and that becomes very difficult because if you're engaged as a guard with a defensive tackle, and then that linebacker comes in, he's basically trying to pick you off. It's the same as a rub route in coverage, and then let that defensive tackle loop back around. These are all words that we've heard, right? Loop, twist, stunt. And so that makes it really difficult. The back has to be ready to do that. And what Chris Brooks was able to do is because he brought the fight to Alex Anzalone in that case, he came in, and Coach is going to talk about this part of it, stayed square to the line of scrimmage. He gets to the same level as the guard, and now you can pass that off. It's still remarkable that a 215-pound, 220-pound running back was able to do it, but now you give yourself a fighting chance. Coach, can you walk us through some of the coaching points in there?
He fit it really well. When I talk about fit, it's like getting up into the line of scrimmage. Because here's a deal on a twist. What Peter was talking about. There's really 2 parts of a twist. I'm talking about 2 players, 2 defensive players. There is a penetrator, and then there is a looper. And the penetrator is always trying to pick off the guy over the looper. And what ends up happening is like the offensive line, they get on different levels. And if they're on different levels, their shoulders start to turn. And then you can never adapt. You can never get off. So the key on picking up a twist is staying square, keeping your shoulders perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. That way you can keep everything in front of you. And the back did just a beautiful job of fitting it right off of the guard. And you're right, Peter. He stoned that guy. And those backs did a great job. And I tell you, I just want to give a shout out to Benny Sermons. Benny Sermons is the running back coach. He was my running back coach at Boston College. Knew he was going to be a superstar, but he's done a great job with these backs. But that's the key part of what the backs did this week in protection. And a couple times also, they went double A gap pressure, right?
So that's up the middle, correct?
Yep. So here, guys, so this is what this means. So like the A gap is between the center and the guard. The B gap is between the guard and the tackle. The C gap is between the tackle and the tight end. That's how they identify what the gaps are. And what they did is they brought 2 linebackers up into the A gaps on each side of the center. The center's got to go one way on the protection, and the back went up and stepped it up into the A gap right between the guard and the center. And it was just a wall of green. It was beautiful. They did a great job picking that up.
Coach, my question for you, that you're kind of talking a little bit and talking about the A gap and the B gap and the C gap. And now I know what a 3-tech is. Thank you guys for that. My question for you is like, when I'm a football fan, I'm watching the game, I'm watching a running back, and they get the ball, and I'm wondering, man, why didn't they run this way or that way, or why didn't they pick up this guy or that guy? How much emphasis is on these running backs in the position? Because it's not just getting the ball and running guys over and scoring touchdowns. There's so much more to playing running back. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit, like, holy cow, I didn't really sit here and think about, like, they got to know, they got to read defenses. They got to listen to the play calls. They got to listen to, play changes at the line of scrimmage. They're blocking guys, as you mentioned, Chris Brooks, not the biggest, but stepping up and blocking a linebacker. Talk to me about that position and what it means for a team to be successful, because we talked about it. Jordan Love was held upright. The Packers scored 27 points. Things worked out pretty well, but I don't think, including myself, the responsibilities on that position outside of just scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys, there's been so many meetings I've been in with a running back, and a guy might have been like super talented running the ball, but if he could not pick up a blitz and he didn't understand blitz pickup, he was out. unless the guy was just like Derrick Henry, right? He didn't give a shit. Just give him the ball, right? But I'm talking about like in the back, if you could not pick up the blitz and you've got a guy worth millions of dollars pulling the trigger,
50.
you ain't going to be around. You're not going to be around very long. You're not. And then also, a lot of times you would have like a third down back that was better at protections than everybody else, because that's where you have to protect, right? That's where a lot of the pressures come on third downs and passing situations. So sometimes we would have just a third down back that was just for protections. And guys, it is so important that a back knows where to go, how to pick it up, the technique, who to get and how to get them. He's got to know, because if he's not, guys, he will not be on your roster.
The best group that I've ever seen in Green Bay was those mid-90s Packers with Edgar Bennett, Dorsey Levens, William Henderson. Like they were nails doing that kind of stuff. And it was the unsung, like Edgar Bennett was not the greatest running back you've ever seen, but man, he could pick up a blitz. And like those things you have to be able to do. Let me just I'll complicate this even further, Brandon. You ready? So part of this is on the quarterback, because you got to have the right protections there. Yeah. And that's part of Jordan Love's responsibility. You see him up there pointing at guys. We hear on, the national TV games, and now kind of every game, right? They've got the center mic'd up, it seems like, and 51's the mic, 51's the mic. The reason that's important is for protection, because your running back is then reading his responsibility in the protection based on that mic call. And so it's not just like
Mike
everyone knows
middle
who the middle
linebacker
linebacker is. Like, why are we talking about this? But based on positioning and based on who they think is coming on a given play, Jordan Love has to be able to identify what's going on so that he's giving the running back a read on, hey, if this guy comes, this is who you got. And all he's got to do is identify the mic. And then that running back knows, based on their rules, all right, I'm reading this 1 to 2, or I'm taking most dangerous, or whatever it is, that there's the quarterback has the part of that responsibility too. And Jordan Love has become outstanding identifying pre-snap coverages and pre-snap looks. He's so great at getting everybody organized into the right protections. And you have to be able to do that before you can pass protect. You have to make sure you have the right protection.
Yeah. Peter, can I just mention something here on that?
Yeah.
You're talking about like the mic. So people watching the game, you're looking at the center and the offensive line, and you'll always see the center point to a guy. If you look at it. So what he's telling everybody up front in the offensive line is like, I've got that. That's where our starting point is. And then the guard goes +1 from the mic, means the next guy over. The tackle goes +2, so it's 0, 1, 2.
In the direction of where the play is going to go.
And then
The direction of where they're aligned.
Yes. But you're going to see it's in the run game too, guys. They had to, because the center's got to identify how we're blocking the front, right? And when you guys see the center point, and sometimes you see the quarterback doing it, right? Like, no, that's the guy I want you to go to. He's pointing to the center, and that's important that everybody knows, because that's the starting point for the offensive line on where they work from the mic, or whoever they decide who the 0 player is. And then the guard's got 1, tackle's got 2. And then the back has the opposite of it. So it's a great point, Peter. Great point.
And if you really want to have fun, and this was something Aaron Rodgers was the master at, the Packers have a play. Well, they have a base run play where they get condensed and they bring the receiver, they motion in, and he has got to make an insert block and dig out a safety. Okay. Then what they do when they get into the red zone is they motion that receiver in, and Jordan Love is pointing, that guy. And then they run play action. So the defense is thinking it's all the histrionics. It's all drama. It's like, hey, this is that run play you've seen us run a couple times where this receiver is going to come in and he's going to block that guy. Here's the run fake, and everyone's selling out to stop the run because we know this is that, and it's not. So then you can use that kind of stuff as subterfuge. You even hear quarterbacks talk, like Aaron Rodgers will say, I'll make the wrong mic call. Or Rodgers was such a jerk in the best way that he would say, hey, you're lined up wrong to a linebacker.
You're probably right.
He knows the defense better than the freaking defense does.
Yeah. That sounds Aaron Rodgers like. Well, we mentioned it. The Commanders, Packers getting set to kick things off in officially less than 24 hours out at Lambeau Field. A whiteout, a winter warning game for the Green Bay Packers. We'll talk about the keys to a Packers victory. And of course, before we go, you'll get our scores and predictions coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Packers Squad Show is brought to you by Mazda. You can just move through life, or you can find things that move you. It's simply up to you. It is your choice. You can choose to get out there, choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really actually go for it. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply just move. Mazda, move and be moved. Week 2 officially underway as the Packers will welcome in the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, old friend Deebo Samuel Jr. out there in Washington, a pivotal matchup for the Green Bay Packers. I shouldn't say pivotal, but an interesting one to see, as we talked about, to kind of test this team, guys, going forward into the season. And we mentioned it's kind of a quirky schedule for the Packers. They'll have a couple of home games here at Lambeau Field within a span of 5 days. They'll hit the road. They have some late games at the back end of the season on the road. Peter, your keys to a Packers victory. How can this team, we kind of mentioned a few things, but how can this team walk away and get 2 wins in 5 days?
You do the same thing you did in week 1. And I don't mean, blow the team out, because obviously if you do that, you win. But it has to be the same sort of like, we're just going to do what we do and let the other team make the mistakes. And you don't give up the explosive plays. Packers did not give up any. I've said this stat 100 times, I think, this week, guys. Jahmyr Gibbs had 19 touches and 50 yards. 19 touches and 50 yards, set an NFL record for the lowest number of yards on 10 catches in modern league history. Play that way defensively, where you're rallying to the ball, you're not giving up big plays, you're playing with discipline. And this offense is not like the killer machine that we saw from Detroit last year. Now they have the same play caller. So that's piece 1. And on offense, it's turnovers. It's if you don't turn the ball over, I think you're going to beat this team, because you're going to be able to move the ball. The Packers have played Dan Quinn, I believe it's 3 times since Matt LaFleur has been the coach. They scored 30 or more points in all 3. So Aaron Rodgers, that's a different offense. That's a different animal. But the last time the Packers saw Dan Quinn's defense, they put up 41 offensive points on Dan Quinn's defense. And I think that defense was materially more talented than the one that they're facing on Thursday night, in part because they had Micah Parsons. So to me, those are the 2 keys. No explosives, rally and tackle on defense, and then turnovers on offense.
Coach, keys for a Packers victory to improve to 2-0 within 5 days.
I think that the Packers are going to get their running game going this week. They're not playing the Giants, guys. They're just not. They're playing the Packers. And I tell you, we really didn't get a chance to run the ball, because we really didn't need to run the ball a lot last week against Detroit. But I think Jacobs is going to take a big, heavy load this week. And if you get that running game going, guys, here comes your play action. The play action, then you get your big plays down the field. Peter, I'm always going to talk about explosive plays and turnovers too. Hafley's got, again, the standard on which he's setting. We got to get turnovers, and we're going to get some turnovers. I don't think it's I don't think it's going to be that close, guys. I just don't. I
think the Packers are going to get to 30, and this Commanders team, Micah Parsons, last time these 2 teams played, or last time Micah Parsons played the Commanders, guys, you know what he did? 2.5 sacks.
Yeah.
And that was with Jaden Daniels. So I don't think he has any problems getting to Jaden Daniels against a rookie. Jags is right. This is not the Giants, right?
No.
Brian Daboll is not walking through that door, and either is that absolute dog water offensive line that they played last week. This Commanders team they were the regression candidate coming into this year based on what we saw last year. 12 wins, the 87% on 4th downs. It was a lot of smoke and mirrors last year. I just don't think they have the explosive ability. They're the oldest team in the league too. The oldest team playing the youngest team, the oldest team in the league on a short week coming to Lambeau. Given what we just saw on Sunday, this is like 30-17 kind of thing. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Go ahead, Coach.
No, go, Brandon. Go ahead. You got it.
I look at this team, and again, maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment. And Coach Peter, you guys can talk me down a little bit. Maybe I'm still riding the high from finally, beating the Detroit Lions to kick off the season at Lambeau Field. We saw a very efficient Jordan Love in that first half. You go back and I rewatch the game. I don't dive into it too deep, but I rewatch it, kind of take the emotion out of it. And it felt like in that first half, like the first 3 quarters, maybe it was the most in control it felt like that Jordan Love had on a Packers offense. And I know he's put up really good numbers in the playoffs and he's won really big games in the regular season, but it felt like Jordan Love was really in control, really in command, and had a good feel for the offense. And then I look at, they really didn't even utilize Matthew Golden a ton. And I know he's a rookie. I think he's eventually going to catch on. And they didn't really utilize a ton of their tight ends. And I know Tucker Kraft had a great touchdown, but I think there's some opportunities there for this team to still exploit defensive weaknesses on opposing teams. And it just feels like the Packers didn't necessarily play their complete game. And I know Matt LaFleur talked about it after the game. And there's things that every coach, and Coach Jags, you'll attest to this, that they have to improve on. And they put up 27. It was 27-6 with 55 seconds left before Detroit put up a touchdown, a team that's dominated the NFC North. I look at this Washington Commanders team. They beat the Giants 21-6. At one point into the fourth quarter, it was a 1-score game. Jaden Daniels, 19 of 30, 233 yards. Nothing watching that game, nothing really stood out to me and was like, man, that's how the Packers can lose. And I know, again, Coach, and
you can always lose, right? Like right. You just don't play well. But if the Packers play a B+ game, right? I don't think the Commanders can play well enough to beat them. They don't even need their A game to beat this team. And that's not disrespecting the Commanders. Sure, I think they're a talented team. It's more about how good I think this Packers team is and how well coached I think this Packers team is and how the matchups break down. They're not, if the Packers don't turn the ball over, I don't think this Washington offense can keep pace with Green Bay. That's what this is about. That's why turnovers are so critical. Guys, the Lions had 500 yards of offense against this team in the playoffs and lost because they couldn't stop having diarrhea turnovers. If they had just had 2 instead of 5 or however many they had, they win that game. So I think this defense is there to be taken, and I think the Packers are going to take it.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something, guys. I mentioned it before. Those guys, they're up there watching the offensive coordinator, LaFleur. They're watching Jeff. Hey, guys, we're playing to our standard. It doesn't matter who we're playing. I don't give a crap who they played. It doesn't matter. This is how we play consistently every single down. And you know what? Everybody's buying into it. You can tell the way they're playing. Everybody's buying into it. We talk about like, well, who's that go-to guy at wide receiver? Hey, guys, get ready. Everybody's involved.
Yeah, whoever's open.
Exactly. And, Jordan did a great job of like just picking them apart on the first drive. And remember, we had talked about like the opening script. They've practiced it. Like they've had 2 days. I guarantee they've done it on Tuesday and the walkthrough today. They've already gone through their opening script plays, walking it through. And it's a mental deal, right? But they've been through that twice already before they even kick off tomorrow night.
Coach, I got a question.
We talked about this before, I think at the end of last week in our midweek show last week. This seems like a more mature version of this team. I thought they felt like they could just walk onto the field and win last year. They felt like, not that they were owed anything, but just like, hey, they were swinging their dicks around last year, thinking, that they were going to do it. And they did not have the mental fortitude, the focus, the details down to match that. Now it seems like they have. That was what I saw in week 1, that they matched the talent to the details and the focus. And they seem locked in a different way this year. Matt LaFleur last week, a couple little jokes in the press conference. He was not having it. This was not
good point.
Grab ass day. Yeah. Matt LaFleur was locked in. And that tells me everyone, and this is why the Micah Parsons trade was so important, guys.
Thank you.
Everyone understands what that means, what bringing that guy to Green Bay means. And it makes everyone go, hey, let's lock in here, because if we do this, if we get focused, nobody can beat us. And I'm telling you right now that is the message in that locker room every single day. If we play our best, they can't beat us, but we have to play our best, because last year in the biggest moments, they didn't.
Guys, how much would you like to be a fly on the wall in that defensive line meeting?
Oh, it must have been fun.
You go, you got it. I got it. I got it. I'm just telling you. It's like, everybody's going to get better with this.
Yeah, they're going to the buffet every week. Everybody's going to eat
every week. Who's paying? You got it. You get millions.
Mike is definitely paying.
Micah better be paying. Come on,
Coach. Real quick before we get moving on with the show, I got a quick one for you because I had this conversation with a couple of friends and a couple of coworkers.
Right.
When you look at a team, right, and it's week 1, and it usually is a typical overreaction, one way or another. I know they're melting away in Chicago right now, and the Packers are on this huge pedestal after their win over Detroit. When do you look at a team and you're like, that's the team for real? Like, is it right? Is it week 1? Is this the Packers that we can really expect? Or do you got to be like, okay, let's see how they respond on a short week. Let's see how they respond on the road in Cleveland. Let's see how they respond after an early bye week. When do you buy into a team? When do we look at a team and be like, that's the team? Because I look at this Packers defense and I'm like, and this is going to sound hyperbolic. If that's the Packers defense, guys, that's a Super Bowl team. That's a Super Bowl caliber team. And that's what the expectation is. But I don't want to get too far in front of my skis here, Coach. I mean, when do you look at a team and you're like, this is the real team that they actually have and are capable of playing?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we used to do this too, is like before it was 16 games and every 4 games was a quarter, right? So there's the first quarter, there's the first half, third quarter, fourth quarter, when there were 16 games. I was super excited about what I saw last week against the Lions, but you know what? Good teams consistently do that every week. And I keep saying, it's the standard that's what we're going to play at. And I just think, guys, they're going to come out as high as a kite tomorrow night. I really do. Because when you come off a performance like they had, because going into the last game, it's like, well, I don't know, how's Detroit going? Didn't even matter. Actually, when you look back at it, but it's just how are they going to play? And I think being at home, again, electric on a Thursday night national TV game, but Al's doing this game, right? He's the best, right? And the only reason they're giving him that game is because this is the best game. So I just think time will tell, and it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. But the thing they want to do is stack successes, and they're going to continue to do that tomorrow night.
I feel like you've heard that somewhere.
Success, all I can think of is Mike McCarthy, because that was what he said every press conference.
Guys, I was in that room.
Success. I mean, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. You're channeling Mike McCarthy there. I love it. I love it. Big Mike is with us still. He moved back to Green Bay.
I heard that. Yeah.
Before we get moving, we were all 1-0 last week. Each one of us predicting a Packers win. Peter, I'll start with you. Your prediction for Thursday Night Football. I kind of heard it a little bit earlier, but your final score prediction for Packers Commanders.
Yeah, the total is 48 right now. Our friends at FanDuel have it set at 48. I think it probably is going to go under. I think it's always safe to bet the under on a Thursday night, but I think if they like, it's going to be that 30-17 kind of thing. That's sort of how I landed at 47, like 30-17. I really don't think, unless the Packers turn the ball over a bunch, that this Commanders team can score with Green Bay. And I don't see how this Commanders team stops Green Bay either.
Coach, your final score prediction for Thursday night's match.
By the way, I nailed the Packers last week. I said 27-21. Packers scored 27.
Got it. You got it. You're paying for the buffet this week.
Yeah, he's got it. Trust me, he's got it. He's got
bragging on that, right? I'm going to say 28-14. But listen to this: Packers are going to have 2 to 3 takeaways against them. I think they're going to force Jaden to make some plays that he doesn't want to make.
Yeah,
he hasn't seen, guys. He hadn't seen that pressure that the Giants didn't do that. He ain't seen the fastness of this or how fast people are. But I'm going to say they're going to get 2 to 3 turnovers, and that'll be the difference in the game.
I got Packers 31-20 over the Commanders, and I think this is going to be an Xavier McKinney game. It was kind of quiet in week 1 in the stat sheet. Jeff Hafley
said one of the best games Xavier McKinney's ever played.
Yep, and that penalty that apparently is going to be a thing this year.
Nonsense penalty.
Yeah, so I do think it's an Xavier McKinney game. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be forced into making throws late in the game, and I think X is going to have a game. I think Mike is going to show up like he did and get maybe a couple of sacks in this one. But I feel very confident right now about this Packers offense and Jordan Love under center. So I have the Packers winning 31-20. The Packers and Commanders set for a week 2 clash at Lambeau Field. Remember, immediately following that game, Peter Bukowski, our guy, will go live, followed by Coach Jags and myself for an extended post-game show right here on the Locked On Packers YouTube channel. And as always, a friendly reminder, the Locked On Packers Squad Show and the Locked On Packers Daily Show with Peter are free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, as well as over on YouTube. For Peter, for Coach Jags, and myself, we will sign off for now. We'll be back with you tomorrow after the Packers and Commanders meet at Lambeau Field. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and go, Pack, go.
Go Pack.